So right here, the way that I'm going to go ahead and cut this is, instead of cutting our line, our mark that we had here, I want to leave this sleeve kind of here, and I'm going to be fitting the metal over it once I get that cut. So we're going to use a hole saw. You can see maybe, but it's a 2.5. Probably can't see that. Either way, 2.5 inch hole saw goes right around. We'll be using the hole inside of this bushing as kind of our guide. On this side, it will go right over, but on here, you have to cut around this sleeve first. I don't think it has to be absolutely perfect, because I'm not going to be, making sure that I'm using this line as my centered. This is just relative to what I'm doing. I may mark this, just make a nice indent where the Sharpie mark is here. Use like a Dremel for that. That way I have a reference point that's not accidentally going to disappear. But I'll figure that out in a second. It would probably be easier if I took the whole thing out from underneath the car, but kind of feeling lazy in this moment, so I'll do it with it in there. Off camera, I went ahead and I cut the upper rear bushings off of the subframe. Now the car is actually resting on the subframe itself, and I noticed that I can't go up any further without hitting right here. This is the upper control arm mount on the body. Now I can go ahead and cut that off like I plan on. Reason being is, obviously I'm not going to be putting a solid axle back inside of this particular car. It's just too far. If I ever really wanted to, I suppose I could, but I don't really think it's worth it. I'm going to go ahead and cut them out of the car after I drop the IRS back out, and then we'll snake it back in and see. So off camera, I went ahead and I removed these guys. These are the upper control arm mounts. Remove them from both sides. Obviously it looks a lot like Swiss cheese. Eventually we'll clean it up, but currently there's no real need. I'll have time to clean it up while the rear end is out getting powder coated again, once that's finished up. I'm not sure if I'm just gonna fill the holes or if I'm gonna put something over them, or you won't really see it, so it's not a huge deal, but that is just currently what it looks like. Now we just gotta get the rear end back in the car and then go ahead and start mocking up our mounts. Went ahead and cut that out so I could get this as close up as I want it to be now. The next spot that it's actually touching is the sway bar is coming in contact with my spare tire mount. So we'll see if I end up cutting that out exactly. But I went ahead and made this template just by, a little bit of cardboard, had it set on top, marked around it where I wanted it, connected it, and used this to mark the metal that I ended up cutting out. You can see right here, I went ahead and I marked all the way around it, cut this out. It is 7 inches deep and 10 inches long. Now, I probably should have made it a little bit longer, but I have an idea of what I'm gonna do to make up for that. As far as how deep it is, it is fine. Obviously, I could have shifted this further this way and further in, but I feel like I'd rather cut off the excess that I don't need, maybe make some supports here. That way I make sure it's really sturdy, rather than having it be too small. So I transferred this over to another piece. I'll go ahead and cut it out for the other side, and then I'll have my 2 flat brackets made, and then all I have to do is figure out how high or low I plan on actually making this. I have both of the brackets made now, so I'm gonna go ahead and jack up the rear end as high as it can go, or roughly where I want it. And then since I have the holes already in the frame up here, I'm gonna go ahead and just use spray paint down to mark exactly where I want the holes on both sides. And then we'll end up bolting this up to the car first and then aligning the rear end where I want it and tack it in place with these actually screwed into the car. Now I have both of these marked. I marked them driver and passenger side. Not that it should matter as far as this goes, but I want to make sure that I keep it all on track. So we'll go ahead and we will drill through these with little pilot holes, and then I will use my step-up bit to get it the size that I actually want it, because I don't think I have a drill bit large enough for this. Both of the brackets are now bolted into place on both sides. I got them pretty much where I want them, so I think the next step is going to be for me to tack this in place, and then we will build out the mount that goes to here, and however we want to weld that over there. But first thing we're going to do is tack this here, I believe, and make sure that I have it in a way that I can get it in and out easily. Make sure that the bolt holes actually line up every time before I make this weld super strong. Obviously, I'm not even doing the permanent welds. I'm having someone do that for me, but you know, I got to start somewhere. If I do this long enough, I'll get through it.